So did you guys know that this year marks 132 years ever since Uganda became a British protectorate in the year 1894? And at that time, up to when we got independence in 1962, Uganda's national debt was basically non-existent, zero. However, 64 years later since independence, Uganda's national debt stands at 106 trillion Uganda shillings, approximately 28 billion US dollars. Listen guys, today I'll be discussing some of the prevailing effects of British rule in Uganda. Get a cup of tea. Although Uganda gained its independence in 1962, the imprint of British colonial rule is still woven in our day-to-day life, politically, economically, and socially. That's why you have an English name on top of your traditional name. Anyways, politically, these people introduced democratic systems. And so we moved away from the monarchies, and there was loss of traditional power to our traditional leaders, and there was also ethical tension. Sometimes they be like, no, you have to kneel while you're greeting, while the English are like, no, that is undermining women. You don't have to kneel while you're greeting. And we can see that in our day-to-day lives. The modern girls or women, as you can tell, they don't want to practice traditions because times have changed. Economically, they introduced the hat and gun taxes, and these were to fund administration, infrastructure development, and military costs without burdening the British taxpayers. And you might be wondering, where were ordinary Ugandans going to get the money to pay these taxes? Worry not, because the British also introduced cash crops. These were the cotton, the coffee, and these were grown for export purposes. So you grow the cotton, sell it to them, get the money, pay them the taxes. And today we have seen that revenue continuity go on because governments still rely on taxes paid by citizens to get money to build what? Infrastructure and so many other things. At the same time, these taxes introduced the idea of structured revenue collection, and post-independence, Uganda expanded into modern systems which included borrowing and debt management, because every time we collect taxes and they are not enough, guess what? We borrow. And that is how our debt has gone from 0 to 106 trillion Uganda shillings ever since independence. Socially, the missionaries introduced Christianity. And currently, Christianity is the most predominant in Uganda. That is Catholic, Anglican, and Pentecostal. And today, social institutions such as churches stand central in education, healthcare, and community life. And they step in whenever the government is weak. At the same time, the British built schools to train a small part of the elite who could serve in what? Administration purposes. Instructions were given in English, European culture and Christian values were emphasized, and the schools were limited to Ugandans in terms of access. Today, we see it in that English is the official language of Uganda. Education is a path for the elite, and most of these are trained to work in the government or to continue running the modern finance machine. So what are some of the effects that I have missed out that you still see in the modern Uganda that were brought about by the British rule in Uganda? If you would like to know more about the effects of British colonial rule in other Commonwealth countries, I recommend a film on YouTube by Legacy of an Empire known as Heritage of British Colonial Rule. Thank you. See you in the next one.